Hello the internet, my name's Laura and welcome to my channel. Today is going to be another one of those sort of story episodes that I was excited about doing at the beginning and then kind of drifted away from because I had a lot of other content to show. This is a video I've actually been planning on doing for a while and it just kind of got shuffled into the back. This is a story of my Christmas cactus that I've had for probably over 5 years, that survived for the longest time while I was neglecting it, and then when I started trying to take care of it, I almost lost it. So if you're interested in that story, stick around. I'm glad that you decided to stick around. Alright, so this story started a bunch of years ago. I don't even know how many. Like I said, over 5. It's been a long time. This was a plant, this Christmas cactus was a plant that I had, that my mother had given me. I really liked it. I liked the shape of the blooms. Every once in a while I actually get some blooms on it. But basically what would happen is I'd water it like once every 2 months. Didn't grow very fast. This house doesn't get good light, so it really wasn't getting all that much great light. But it would flower because basically it would just get light from outside, and when it started getting into winter, it would go into flowering. I'd get 2 or 3 blooms and then it would stop because that's really all it could manage. And it just kind of stuck around with me. So when I started taking care of plants, probably back at the end of spring, beginning of summer, somewhere around there, I started taking care of this plant too. I kind of learned more, Christmas cactuses are epiphytes, probably saying that right, epiphytes. They don't like a lot of water sitting around on their roots. They like well-draining soil. Basically, I had been treating it like a succulent. One of the reasons I'm so good at succulents is because of those habits of not really overwatering. I'm like an underwaterer, which is probably why many of these plants actually survive. But anyway, I learned that that's actually what that type of plant wants. And so I put him in some well-draining soil, and I ended up sticking him outside. I had tried to do this before, but he always ended up getting sunburned, and I just assumed that, I don't know, I guess the assumption was that plants, if they don't want direct sun, then they just sunburn. It hadn't really occurred to me so much the idea of like morning sun versus sun for a couple of hours versus afternoon sun, like that different types of sun could be different for the plant. And so I stuck him outside, the same place that I put my aloe vera and my rubber tree plant, which was a place that got some morning sun, and then they were shaded for a while by a cherry blossom tree that I had out there, and then they'd get a little bit more sun before the sun would then go on the other side of my house, and that entire thing would be shaded. I had them directly on my pavement of my driveway. That'll be important later. And while my aloe vera hated it because it was apparently still too much sun for that, my rubber tree and my Christmas cactus absolutely loved it. My Christmas cactus put out so much new growth that I didn't even know what was happening. I mean, so much new growth. And I was like, okay, good. It's loving it. This is great. I'm so happy. I'm learning how to take care of plants. This is still back when I was still kind of learning how to take care of plants. So I was really bolstered by this. So the pot that I had this plant in was actually this one. So I think that's about an 8-inch pot and very tapered down to the end. And what would happen is the plant was so heavy that the pot kept, oh, I'm throwing dirt everywhere. The pot would keep falling over. like the wind would just push it over because it was just, you know, a pot with a small little base and like this huge plant on the top. And like I would set it back up, and it didn't, I mean, every once in a while I would lose a leaf or whatever from falling over, but it really wasn't doing that bad. And then one day I was just like, okay, I'm tired of putting this plant up all the time. I'm gonna repot it. So I pulled out another pot that's much heavier. It's actually the exact same size, and I think this is a painted terracotta. It looks like terracotta on the inside, and some of the paint is kind of flaking off a little bit, like you can see. But anyway, picked up the pot, put a little bit of dirt in the bottom, and basically just plopped the pot, or plop the plant into this pot. This pot is much heavier than this pot. It also has a wider base. It was not going to fall over, and it didn't fall over. And for 3 days, everything was great. Sorry about the shaking of the table. Putting the, actually, yeah, there we go. I was putting the pots down on the table. Anyway, after about 3 days, 3 or 4 days-ish, I came home. There was literally a circle of leaves on the ground around the pot. Like the newly grown leaves that had, like I said, the plant was doing so well and growing new leaves. There was a circle of leaves that had just fallen off and were laying in a literal circle around the pot. And I looked at it and I was like, did we have cold weather? Did I water it too much? Because I hadn't been watering the plant. I had literally been letting the thunderstorms that we were having, because it was summer at the time, the thunderstorms that we were having would water it, and then we would have a really hot day, and then, you know, a thunderstorm, and maybe if it went like 3 or 4 days without any kind of thunderstorm, I'd throw a little water on there, because the soil got dry at that point. But like I'm going through all these things, like because the leaves themselves were perfect. It was literally like they grew and then it went and fell off. They were healthy leaves, they were green, you know, the new growth green leaves and all this kind of stuff. And so I went to the internet and they're like, well, leaves can fall off because of either overwater or underwater. And I'm just going, how am I supposed to know which one it is? Because, you know, I didn't have tons of control of it because it was outside. I didn't know whether maybe it had gotten super cold overnight. I don't pay a lot of attention to the temperatures in the middle of summer because usually it's warm enough, you know? And so basically, what I think happened is that going from this thin plastic pot to this thick terracotta pot on my driveway, like, shocked the roots. Like, the heat that was radiated off the driveway, and this is moved again, the heat that was radiating off the driveway, like, was heating the soil too much or something like that. So it was a severe temperature change where I myself didn't see a temperature change. And this is just conjecture at this point. I don't know if that's actually what happened. The problem is how I responded to the plant losing all these leaves. So I brought the plant inside because I assumed that it was some sort of a temperature change, and I needed to try and fix it. So I brought the plant inside. It stayed inside. It kept losing leaves. Not as dramatically as that first day, but basically every time I moved the plant, some leaves would fall off of it. And then at a certain point, I watered it because it had been inside for a while. And then I went away on a trip. Or maybe that's why I watered it. I might have watered it because I was going away on a trip and I wanted it to have water. And when I came back, the plant looked absolutely terrible. I don't have any pictures of it, but the leaves were all shriveled up, and the little joint in between, you know, the joint on Christmas cactus between the leaves had gotten like bulbous. And for a while I was like, is it diseased? the leaves are all shriveled. It had these weird little growths on it, and I was like, I thought it was some sort of a fungus or something. And then I was like, oh, the leaves are all shriveled, it probably needs water. So I watered it again. Some of you already know where this is going. I did not. The plant did not recover over the next couple of days. And so, what did I do at that point? I think I actually tried, no, I think I watered it more. God, looking back on this, I really did a bad job with this. After a while, I think it finally occurred to me what the actual problem was, and the actual problem was root rot. And I pulled it out of the pot that it was in, and sure enough, some of the thick stems on the Christmas cactus were squishy. So I snapped them off. I snapped off because, you know, Christmas cactus have those little sections. So I just snapped off one of the sections and threw away the rotted stuff. And then there were other ones in there where it's like, oh, okay, these ones are all right. They're not squishy. They've still got roots on them. And so I let them dry out for a day. God, what was I thinking? Anyway, I let them dry out for a day, and then I went to repot them. And I've actually got a video of this. This happened not long after I started getting into posting on YouTube, so around October. So I do actually have video of this. So I'm going to show you that video, and then I'll talk to you again when you get back. Okay? So here, watch this video and try not to laugh at me too hard. Okay, so these are the cuttings that I took off of my plant the other day after it just seemed like it was doing so poorly. I pulled everything out of the soil, and then and you can see probably, if I can get it to zoom in on there, how wrinkled they are. And these are the ones that were doing okay yesterday, but as you can see, I took it down. I've got some bare roots on these guys here, and then these were the ones here that, gosh, they're looking so bad, but you can see I just kind of ripped the roots right off the bottom because it was just dying. It was rotting and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't know if these ones are going to make it because they're the ones without the roots. But I'm going to go ahead and put the ones that do have roots back in some soil in their own new pot, because they should be, I guess they have the best chance of making it of anything, and I don't know, so we'll see what we're doing. So I'm going to get some of this potting soil and put it in here. And I am, even though these aren't succulents, I'm going with some succulent mix as well as some orchid mix. And then I put a little extra perlite in there. Just because I kind of want to make sure that it's really well draining for them. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick them right in there. And I'm doing this with one hand because I have no other way to hold my camera right now, though, you know, maybe later on I will figure this out a little bit more. Let's see if I can prop that up there on my knees. And, oh, there's a root guy. We're just going to go ahead and fill in around these guys with the rest of this soil. Get them standing up again. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, yeah, it looks like I'm actually doing a pretty good job. Alright, so those guys are going to be in there like that. A little bit more on the top there. Like that. Okay, so now they're back in some soil. And I am going to water them, but not too much. I've got my watering can over here. I'm just going to put a little bit like that. And that shouldn't be enough to, like, drench it, but it should be enough to hopefully get down. Well, you know, now I'm nervous. Okay, I want to make sure this gets down to the roots. But at the same time, I don't think that's too much water for them. And then I'm probably going to go ahead and water them again a little bit tomorrow. I'm going to see how dry it is or whatever, and I'm just going to watch and see if these leaves start to come back, and see if I can get a, might be too close. You can kind of see where the end of this is getting some roots on it, and I think that's what I was kind of panicking, because I thought that it was like a disease, but it actually seems to be like a final gasp for, oh my gosh, you know, let me have some roots so that I can survive. And I don't even know, guys. I'm really worried about this plant. I don't think it's really going to make it, but I'm going to give it the best chance that I can. I'm going to keep it out of the sun, or out of some direct sun, and we're just going to see. And I'll keep you guys updated. If I lose it completely, then that happens. Not like it's a rare plant, so, you know, that's not, you know, whatever, but I've had it for so long, it'd be kind of a shame to lose it. But anyway. So yeah, it's pretty clear that I really have had no idea what I was doing at the time. But I did what I said in the video. I watered it, and I watched it, and I watered it some more, and it basically did nothing for a week or two. And at that point, I had started watching videos on YouTube, and I saw Plant Me Ashley's video where she had the root rot on her albino or her albo monstera, and she had the video where she actually like pulled the albo monstera out of the soil and was like, oh yeah, look at these roots, where it's just a string left. The outer casing has rotted away. And when I saw that video, that was when I realized that what my plant had was root rot. And that even though those plants that I planted in the video that you just saw, even though they had roots on them still, that I remembered them looking rather stringy. And so I realized, and she talked about how the plant then doesn't get any water, and so it kind of shrivels up, which was exactly what my Christmas cactus was doing. And so immediately after watching that video, I went and pulled the plant out of the pot that I had it in, where I was trying to save them, or those three, there were like 3 of them, I pulled them out. I took some video of that, and I did not talk. It's completely silent, but it basically shows just the fact that the roots on all of those plants were completely annihilated. They were completely rotted through. The plant itself was starting to rot. And so I'm gonna let you guys see that video. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, it's very, very painful for me to watch that video. So basically what happened at that point was I had become a bit more knowledgeable just about plants in general, and I decided, actually it might have been Plant Me Ashley's video where she was going to do the water propagation, and I was like, okay, we're going to try water propagation. I ripped off any of the the rotted parts of the Christmas cactus, and I stuck them all in water. And I left them. I left them for probably another 2 weeks. And at a certain point, I had them on my kitchen counter because that's where I could see them. And at a certain point, I just I had another one of my moments of I can't do this anymore. Like, these plants are dead and I'm just holding on. And so I grabbed all of them out of there in just a fist, and I went over to the trash can and I got ready to throw them in. And one of those plants had put out a couple of roots. And so I tossed all the rest of them, and I kept that one plant. And here he is. And those are the roots that I have so far. I'm keeping him in water therapy. The leaves are actually still kind of wrinkly up here at the top. I'm not sure how well you can see that. But he's got roots and he's not dying. And I managed to take 2 cuttings that were not completely shriveled up, and I think I'm right now successfully soil propagating them, but I do not want to pull them out of the soil to find out. So happy ending is I do still have a bit of this plant that is still alive. And I'm very, very happy for that. As you can see, it's just a matter of time of waiting for him to get some more roots, and then the 2 that I have in soil propagation that possibly will do. None of them have any new growth on them, but I mean, it's winter time and the plants were not doing very well for a long time, so. But still, I still have the plant. So this is one of those plants, if you saw my video yesterday, that had survived for such a long time with me basically doing nothing. And then when I started trying to take care of it, I like nearly killed it. And I'm just really, really happy that I managed to keep part of it alive so that I still have this plant, because I would have been really sad if I had lost it completely. So hopefully, like my seeing the video from Plant Me Ashley, where it actually finally clicked in my head that it really was still root rot, and that then I knew how to save the plant. Hopefully seeing this will help you just see those signs in case you haven't ever seen a plant with root rot or you don't recognize it, because I mean, all plants are different and things are going to happen to them, and even with however much you know, sometimes things are going to slip by. And the more that you see, the more that you experience, the better you're going to be in recognizing what's going on before it's too late. So I hope that this will help at least one of you one day save a plant that otherwise would have died. And if it does, then this video was completely worth it. So if you enjoyed this story, go ahead and give me a like. And if you'd like to see how this plant does later on, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing updates with him when he finally gets enough roots that I think I can actually stick them in soil, though that might not happen until spring. But I will have lots of other interesting content with healthy plants. You can see behind me, I'm not completely incompetent at keeping plants alive. And thank you all very, very much for watching. And I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.